A couple of days back, as I was wondering what topic should I pick up for my maybe 49th podcast. In fact, I've been quite consistent, guys. I started podcast last August end, I think, and very soon I'm going to continue or uh, complete about 50th podcast. I think today might be 49th. So a couple of days back, I was wondering what topic should I choose, and my wife was saying, "Hey, you're becoming too boring and monotonous. It's always about health, what to eat, what to do in the gym, how many hours to sleep. Why don't you do something spicy and more interesting, right?" Didn't I tell you guys, women are very naughty? They are, right? So I thought, okay, let me do something different today. So today, what we're going to discuss about is a theory on physical appearance and social interactions and how that alters human behavior or how it impacts someone who's physically more attractive, right? So apparently the I did this as a written article in Medium about a year ago, called "The Insecurities of Pretty Women," right? Because I'll come to why I did that later and what kind of interactions I've had with pretty women. But I thought the article actually did pretty well. It still generates about 300 400 views a week, which is pretty significant. And so far, I think it's grossed about 5,000 views, which is in about a year and a half maybe, which is pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, let's go into that. Let's get started. So let's start with the intro, right? Psychologists have actually studied this for decades and found that beauty, especially in women, can be both a blessing and a curse. Today, I'm going to explain a little bit of that why. Um Often, we think, right, we look at, let's say, very beautiful, gorgeous women. So oh, she's stunning, so confident, the kind of woman who makes you turn your head, which we often do. But what if that same girl once, tells you something like, I can't even make real friends anymore? I think primarily we all think that beautiful women have it quite easy. But what if I told you that that's not necessarily true? They are some of the most loneliest and most misunderstood people of all that you will ever meet, right? Mm. And we'll go into some of the, let's say, three, four different plausible explanations for what really happens to them so that you can think from their perspective too, right? The psychologists have studied this for long in terms of finding out how physical appearance in people in general equates to their, let's say, social behavior and interactions. And one of the things they go pretty deep into is about related in beauty to, let's say, the insecurity and behavior. That's something that's been very deeply studied, and in terms of particularly from a woman's angle. And if you ask why, because a woman is, let's say, judged more by her beauty. That's how the world operates. Don't ask me why. And so a lot of studies were done, supposedly on equating women's beauty with how the society judges her or how she operates and the behaviors around that part. While we may assume that beauty equals more confidence, research and real world stories actually is quite complicated, or I would say more complex than what we think. It's kind of, there are multiple things that plays a part. Things like social competition, evolutionary psychology, behavior and loneliness, etc. It's a lot of insecurity that seeps in. We'll explore what are the advantages and mostly what are the disadvantages, challenges that pretty women face. Right? So let's go in. So before we go into the 4 5 points that we'll discuss, the first point I would like to talk about is evolutionary psychology. Right, this is very important to set the context because this plays more prominent. It's a very prominent factor in how the social behavior and the other factors play a part. Right. So contrary to what people have been led to believe, looks do matter a lot, both for men and women. And it seems to matter more in terms of how men judge women, right? Just like, let's say, for example, how men are judged by his status. Uh, when I say status, it can be money, looks, plus social standing. Women are harshly judged or just more or perceived in terms of how beautiful she is. Of course, you can argue that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, but in general, there's a socially acceptable grading in terms of, let's say, between 1 to 10 or 0 to 100 over even lower. But there are some norms which are set that, someone is marked as attractive and less attractive and, let's say, ugly or not beautiful, for example. So, and this has a lot of significance. From a evolutionary standpoint, a man is likely to mate or find a mate in a woman who is more attractive. And that is basically obviously just by visual cues we have insight. So, women that could be a symmetrical face, clean skin, long hair, luscious lips, beautiful eyes, well endowed, let's say, breast and, nice buttocks, for example, and slender waist, of course, waist ratio is also taken into consideration. So there are some naturally laid out, well laid out beauty standards for women by which men across all cultures and all ages are attracted to. And that's a fact, right? Whether people know it or not, that's a fact. And they're valued more for their looks, as I told you, that's just the way it is. Um, so why is that done? Because it just serves for a great reproductive and a survival cue. As simple as that. Just like let's say a tall man with a broad shoulder, with waist to shoulder of 1.6 or 1.7, for example, in a man, is considered quite attractive. Similarly, women are judged by beautiful physical standards that have been naturally defined. Now, this tells a man that, oh, she can eventually, what is a man thinking or the men thinking? They're basically saying, oh, she can be a great mother to my children and she can bear great children and pass on my genes. That's pretty much about it. So, and the other secondary characteristics you can think of is, oh, she makes for a great, apart from being a great mother, it also seems to exalt his status when he marries a woman of higher quality in terms of beauty, right? That's point number two. You meant just like, the opposite of trophy husband, as they say today. Yeah. So in general, securing a very high quality mate matters a lot. It just means, more resources, better production, better treatment by the society. And beautiful men and women are treated better in the society. So you have higher survival chances of your offspring and yourself. That's pretty much the perceived value of women and the evolutionary angle behind that. Now, when it comes to, let's say, social and psychological dynamics, right? Now, I said that women who are extremely beautiful also feel lonely, and there are many reasons why. The first thing is women score higher in neuroticism, and that's again very clearly documented in a research by Costa et al. In 2001. I'll probably link my Medium article. You can go through that in detail, but for this, let's say, podcast format, I'll just cover the points quickly. So, which means they experience more negative emotions like anxiety, self doubt, all kinds of the big five, big six traits that people possess. Women score higher in most of them. And so, one of the things is they process negative emotions more than the positive emotions, which means they are also more likely to amplify the negative symptom that you yourself cannot see or any other person can't see. For example, let's say, to give you an example, someone who's a 9 or a 10 on beauty scale or sexual market value perceived, she might still feel extremely insecure because she's going to find, oh, these are 4 or 5 negatives in me. Maybe my, I have extra body hair in my legs, my buttocks is not big, for example. Whatever the reason is, right? She's going to compare herself and feel a little insecure about it. She amplifies, and that plays a lot in her mind. That's just the way they are wired, according to research. Yeah. The second point is continuing on the same, let's say, social exclusion angles or social dynamics, right? Studies in social psychology have documented very clearly that women who are perceived as more attractive face subtle exclusion from same sex peers, which means if you are a beautiful girl in school, college, society, wherever you are bound to be socially excluded by your friends or peers. They don't have to be your friends, but your peers. Have you heard this term? Women don't make great friends with each other. That's exactly why I read. While they say otherwise in TV and podcasts and other things, they don't tend to like each other. Secretly, they are extremely competitive and jealous of each other. And particularly if you are more attractive, the jealousy just amplifies, and the magnitude is several notches higher. Most women who you are friends with will, tell you that it's not a secret, it's, public knowledge. Yeah, so you can read an article about how Jane Carno, who claimed that she was too attractive, made found it very difficult to make female friendships. That's again very well documented in by various research papers on intrasexual competition. Number three, gorgeous women sometimes gravitate towards similar attractive friends. Now, this is again a very important point to note. You'll generally find women of similar attractive index or scores gravitating towards each other. And that's kind of fair, right? It's not about vanity or anything like kind of it reduces the risk of jealousy from same sex peers, very related point. The ones who are extremely jealous of you are going to spread canards about you, disparage your name, image in the society or the social milieu you're part of, kind of a social sabotage, right? That's how they wage wars between each other, women. So anthropologists have studied it in great detail, and women have been known to use indirect strategies like gossip, slandering, rumor spreading about the girl for so that she's socially excluded. In which case, that excluded woman then is not going to compete for the resources. When I say resources, it's more about social standing and also the men that she is competing for, and even for status. Right? Yeah. So not naturally, what happens? Like, what does these beautiful women then do? Because the less beautiful women are jealous of you, they don't make friends with you. Even the ones who are similarly aligned in terms of perceived value and beauty are with you, but because they also probably go through the same. The nature of friendship doesn't seem to be very true in most cases. So naturally, some of them they tend to downplay their looks through modest dressing and self-deprecating nature. They played on something self-effacement strategies, if you can call it, right? So that they consciously reduce the threat perception. I hope this is clear and you can understand. It's very hard that someone has to do it, but imagine the kind of pressure the beautiful woman has, such that she has to reduce her stature in such a way that she is not perceived as a threat by her own friends. At the same time, she still has the challenge of securing a beautiful, handsome male as a mate, right? In which all other women of her age and class are still competing for the same male, right? So that's a pretty, very hard on beautiful women in general. Yeah, beautiful women may face micro perceived flaws others don't notice, magnifying their insecurities. We discussed it. Beauty often puts them under constant observation, which can amplify self monitoring and perfectionism. So, these are the factors that kind of additional factors along with neuroticism, as you can see. Yeah, then let's look at relational aggression. Relational aggression, social harm is more common among women than men. This includes gossip. We went through that, and reputation attacks. So I've seen this that often when you talk to, let's say, women in the society and tell them, oh, I know this Rekha or I know this Priya, for example, immediately, yeah, I know she's a great girl. And then there's always a but that comes in. Have you heard that with female friends? Just talk to them, ask them about a very close friend of hers or any other third girlfriend, or let's say a girl that is part of your network. This but comma always comes in with like, but she's, she's naughty, she's a little, there's something about her that I can't say, but only we girls know. All of this is going to come. Just try it out with your friends. That's your, reputational attacks. This is pretty good. Obviously, I mean, you can't follow them. That's just the way they're wired. It's, they see them as competition, even when the pretty women don't see them as competition. Okay, now going to point number three. So women have realized that okay, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous, I can't make great friends in my own circle. In a way, I get excluded from my friends in some form. It's a bit of a struggle. What do I do? Can I make male friends? How males react to extreme standards of female beauty? Let's look at that more from a how they perceive beautiful women. Number one, for let's say most average men, and then also how men think versus how women think in terms of approach and behavior. Very simply, men's brain just doesn't work when they see beautiful women. Simple. Most men may not agree, but this is the truth. There's almost like a brain freeze happens when we see someone stunningly beautiful. It's almost like showstopper. You're like we just go game, right? That's how we are wired, and that's good, right? Otherwise, you don't have any incentive to pass on your genes. So nature has made you that way. There's nothing wrong about it. So what happens is immediately he's thinking, particularly if the man is not a very high status and he's a, let's say, 5 or a 6 out of 10, and that girl is a 9 or a 10, right? He's going to immediately convince himself into thinking. That girl is not thinking. The guy himself is talking himself by saying that, oh, she's out of my league, right? Or he's going to say she already has a boyfriend, or he's going to dismiss her saying, oh, she's naughty or haughty, or a little immoral, etc., right? That's kind of a slander that a man is going to think. Secondly, even if he thinks, you may think, okay, what about, okay, this is for just by looks without even talking. What if is going to be aligned for a long-term relationship such as marriage, for example? Even in that case, he's going to feel extremely insecure, because particularly if the difference is way high, right? So again, research has very clearly shown that the difference in points cannot be more than, let's say, 1 or 2 between the man and the woman in general, right? Either which way. And typically, men tend to marry women who are slightly prettier than them in terms of the scale. And that's fine, because women always are hypergamous in terms of marrying a man few percentage points higher in terms of social status. In terms of beauty, in most cases, you'll find that a woman may be a little more attractive than the man in some cases. Uh, but then he's always worried if the difference in points is 4 or 5. Let's say the man is a 4 and the girl is a 9 or a 10. Then those kind of marriages are very unlikely to even work out in the long run, because he's always going to feel very insecure, even if the girl is not promiscuous and like a sati, right? Or what is it called? Sita, not sati. Sati Savitri or Sita, right? Even if she's very conservative, even if she's dressing very modestly, doesn't talk to other men, that insecurity is very difficult to get it out of a man, because he's constantly worried if that girl will only sleep with him, and if she's going to carry the genes provided by him. That's how men are wired. So obviously, there's going to be a little bit of trouble for a lot of men to approach, even make a forget cold approach or get into a relationship with a very beautiful woman. So this is kind of a very difficult paradox for the beautiful woman, right? She also wants to be approached by men, but when she's thinking, oh, are people really intimidated by me, or is it like she's behaving a little too haughty for normal people to come and talk to her? There are different thoughts running through her. A man is obviously not going to come and tell her, nor her friends help her, find some mates in those cases. So that's a bit of a quandary and a trouble that beautiful women can't go through. She's naturally going to think, right? Okay, if she's not always thinking, she already knows she's beautiful. But most beautiful women know they are above the league, but she doesn't want the man to stop approaching just because she's beautiful, right? A man has to be confident, and in fact, if you're a man, you should never talk about someone's beauty. You just go and talk to her as if she is equal to you or even below you. You should not be getting intimidated. That's exactly what want to put you at a different league compared to her, because she's used to thousands and thousands of men gawking at her beauty and putting her on a pedestal. You exactly have to be the opposite by just not complimenting her. It's as simple, right? Just don't get scared, just go and talk to her. But that's dating tips for maybe next or some other day. So I spoke to, for as part of this research before I wrote this article, I also spoke to a few women that I know who are, let's say, supposedly 8, 9s, and 10s, who are into, let's say, modeling or very beautiful, highly successful in career, plus beautiful as well, right? So when I spoke to them, uh, they actually said, I mean, these were like 30s to 40s women. When I spoke to them, and they said they don't get invited to many gatherings or even meetups, and they said on some rare occasions when they were bad-mouthed by their own friends and other women who felt threatened that their husbands would get tempted by them, right? Or if that beautiful girl got more attention than them, she was never called for such meetings again. These were told by a few women that I interviewed as part of the blog. So that's how threatening and vicious the female friendship is. Some of this seemed to hurt them more than the male attention that they were getting. They were kind of okay with all the male attention, even the pretty ones. It was not a problem. But the way their female friends treated them seems to hurt them a lot, because women are very social beings more compared to men. They like same-sex interactions and discussions. So when you're naturally excluded by your own peers, it puts them in a very difficult spot. Evolutionally, it's a big problem, right? Cool. Now we discuss about how men think when they see a very beautiful woman. So if you're a beautiful woman, this is what most men are going to think, and that's why they're not approaching you. So If you're thinking, how do I make him approach you, better go and talk, right? Whatever he thinks, but you should make the initiation. Maybe smile at him. Then maybe he'll get the confidence to come and talk to you. Otherwise, you have very less hopes of decent men coming and talking to you. Okay. Secondly, the women is thinking, fine, there are some men who came and approached me finally. Okay, they know the ones who are manly enough to do that. Can I be friends with them? Because she's kind of bored of the drama and the competition for resources that her friends have given her for a long time. She doesn't want that competition and unnecessary drama. She wants a simple life, just like I want a simple friend, right? Who doesn't judge you for what you are. She also wants similar friends with whom she can talk pretty well, but so then naturally she wonders and thinks, oh, should I just have some male friends? But yeah, she's thinking at least I can get some attention from someone who isn't jealous of me the same way women are. And possibly secretly even desires me, but he doesn't express, right? That's the kind of friends that, kind of friend zone that women put you on. She knows it, that the man is kind of reasonably attracted to her in some form, but she tends to don't play it. But she's already having, rear guard action in terms of what response to give or how to cut him off, cut the ties off him, if at all he brings sexual angle or more than friendship angle into the picture at some stage when she doesn't like him sexually. That's the point to be noted. So she's saying less drama, less competition. I get the attention, I get the protection in some form. I'm happy I have someone to talk to without being judged. So, right? It's all tick marks for her, not necessarily. What actually happens in this case, I'm also telling you from a man's perspective, is a man and woman are not going to be friends. It's very, very hard for a woman. Since you have explored sex from the angle, it's easy for you, but for a man, it is not. The only way we can be friends with a woman or get acquainted and have that emotional connection is through physical touch and through sex. So that's always running at the back of man's mind, whether they tell you or not. Most men don't tell you because they think, oh, she will run away and she will not talk to me for the fear of losing, right? That's why men don't tell. But if a man tells you he doesn't have that feeling towards you, well and good. Maybe you're not very attractive, in which case that's not the intention of this podcast. But in most cases, the man is just plainly lying. That's about it. Girls know it. They just kind of act as if they don't because it's comfortable for them. That's just a expediency factor, I can say. But essentially what I'm saying is it just makes it difficult, right? So you don't have great friends to make in girls, and then the kind of friends you try to make in man, the man is again somewhere he's going to cross the line, wait for the right opportunity to maybe cross the friendly boundaries that you have created, but he doesn't clearly want it. That's the dichotomy in the relationship. I think I thought I should mention that, so that creates more problem for the pretty woman. Cool. The social isolation loop, point number four. I think I already told you, female, fewer friends, jealousy, etc. Platonic boundaries are a blur. We discussed it. Some of the women have honestly told me that most of her female friends tend to be very bitchy and fake. They use the same words, and that they can't associate with them. That's simply the way it is. Now, the next point that I also wanted to talk about is what about workplace, right? This is actually a real problem for a lot of very competent career minded women who are also pretty, because it's been shown through various research that these female face the most harshest of stigmas that anyone can think of. I really feel sorry for them. If you are very competent and then if you are also very beautiful and then you're growing in your career or up the ladder pretty well to a very senior level in most companies, people assume that it is not due to your skill at all and it is just purely due to looks. And this is done by both men and the women equally. There's no what do you call misogynist attitude or misogynistic tendencies here. You're judged. It's bad, but yeah, that's reality. I'm just the messenger giving you the news. I'm not making it up. And if you just assert yourself into a confident woman, you're just labeled as, a bitch, cold, high maintenance category that nobody wants to deal with. So either which way, you're basically trouble. If you're even super great and also super beautiful, it's like, double whammy for beautiful women. Okay, now to the last point of psychological adaptations over time. So what do these women do? I mean, we discussed a bunch of let's say negativities around that, and also how the beautiful women tend to react and adjust because they still have to live among the men and live among the women, right? That's how they can survive in a society. So some of them kind of adapt by downplaying their looks. As I told you, less makeup, dressing normally, not showing off, loose hairs, etc. Bunch of other things. They do that to hide their beauty in any which way that is possible, which actually goes against what they should be doing. But that's how they do to not gain unnecessary attraction and jealousy. They also tend to be a little withdrawn and from particularly from large social groups, and they become extremely cynical about making friendships, and they're extremely selective. Because I've interacted with someone who said, am I very intimidating, Vinod? I'm like, yeah, you're not. Why do you think you're intimidating? No, a lot of men have told me that. Because maybe those men are bloody pusillanimous, right? Now that's how it is, right? But essentially, she gets very confused, right? What am I doing? I can't make female friends either. I'm not able to make male friends because they either want to sleep with me or they're intimidated. They don't even approach me. What the hell am I doing? What's wrong with me, right? Yeah, that's God-given genes. What will she do? That's a kind of problem. Or they'll tend to lead into niche communities where hopefully she's valued for the skill. I think that's something that everybody wants, whether it's a man or a woman. They need to be valued for also for the skill and the potential that they have. The intellect has to come out. Of course, you have to expose those qualities as well. But in general, women are more judged or perceived in terms of or rated in terms of looks more than their skill. That's just the way it is. Anyway, coming back to the summary, right? What did Aristotle say? Personal beauty is a greater recommendation than any letter of reference. Now, is it necessarily a bad thing? Sorry, there's a train that's running anyway. Is it necessarily a bad thing to be beautiful? No, you're blessed. It's okay, right? I mean, there are positives to it, very many positives to it. There are also some negatives to it, just that's the part and parcel of life. So I don't know. It's just it's a great social currency. You can at least get a foot in the door with good looks. It seems to matter both for men and women in general, and even for women. So you have to live with it. It'll open some doors. It does cast some shadows behind the compliments that you get. Is there's always some negative attention that's coming, more scrutiny that's there, a possible specter of isolation and pressure, and a constant need to manage social expectations and perceptions, right? That's a kind of a fine line to manage, a hard balance for most pretty women, but that's just the way it is. And yeah, so if you know of any friends who's gone through that, or if you're a beautiful woman who's gone through such harsh treatments by your friends or society, just feel free to comment or share with a beautiful girl who's been there and done that and faced everything. Cool then. So if you like this video, share with your friends who might benefit from it, and share some love by putting a comment or some like. I'll see you next week with something more interesting. Hopefully it'll be my 50th episode. Cheers then. Bye.